my stock down, though, is Christian Pulisic. He just it's not getting any better for him. And it's a nice segue into what his dad said on Twitter. But he played 22 minutes as a sub against Everton. And then midweek, he played 20 minutes again as a sub against Manchester United. They lost at Everton, and they had a 1-1 draw against United. And I don't know what's happening with him. I don't think his stock is down. He's still our number one guy. But I think his situation makes me feel a little bit down about what's happening. Here's what his dad said on Twitter. The sad thing is, he loves this club, teammates in London, puts his heart and soul into being a pro. Onwards and upwards, my boy. Big 6 months ahead. That seems pretty cryptic. Charlie, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah.
I mean, that, for me, signals that Christian is probably out at Chelsea in some capacity. I mean, you don't write something like that.
No,
the sad thing is that he loves his club and teammates in London. I don't know what else you can take from that other than he's leaving.
I mean, let's be realistic here. I think initially when Christian went to Chelsea, it was more of a marketing play. It ultimately
felt that way.
It really felt that way. It was packaged to be that way. Oh, look at all the depth they have. He's not going to come into play. But he showed the character and the quality that he has, that it's undeniable. When he is given time to play and he's fit, he's a menace. He can unlock defenses. He's that gifted. And we've seen it against the best. Liverpool, I remember watching that game, was it a couple of years ago? I said, oh my God, how was he not the star for Chelsea? And it seems like he's the scapegoat. Anytime there's an issue, he's the first one off. He's the first one subbed off, or he has to come out of the starting 11 if they're going to rotate. So for me, go to a place where he's going to get appreciated and he's going to play every match. And as long as he can stay healthy, I think we're going to see him reach his potential, because that's when he's happy, when he's on the pitch, not when he has to. It feels like of all the players and the attacking players within the Chelsea team, he's the one that has to repeatedly prove himself. And it's not only it's not to the players, it's not to the supporters, it's always to Thomas Tuchel, always. And so you get tired of it. I don't care how good you are, and it's great that you have to prove yourself every day in training and every match. But you get tired of it. There's a certain level that you reach and you say, you know what, I've done it. Every time you've asked of me to show out and prove myself, I've done it. And I'm tired. I'm tired of it, because you're not asking everyone else to do the same thing. So I think his dad is putting that tweet out, hey, my son's staying strong. He's in it, but he's ready for a new challenge. The last league start he's had is March 5th. It was a goal and an assist away at Burnley, which is not an easy place to play. He needs to get that move. I mean, we always talk about which move is.
Well, I mean, is this an emotional dad here though? Heath Pierce, standing on the sideline, going, "This coach doesn't know what he's talking about. My son's better than that." I mean, we've seen some evidence of that, because I remember I took a shot at Julian Green back when he got named to the 2014 World Cup team, and I got hit hard by Julian Green's dad in the replies. And, and I get it. I understand. My dad would do the same thing. You're there to protect your kids. I get it. I'm a dad myself.
Is he his agent? Is he his agent also?
I don't think he is.
No, I don't think so either.
No. I think maybe at one point he was.
For sure, marketing, he's with William Morris Endeavor.
Okay. I mean, look, I think it's definitely dad kind of jumping in trying to punch out in a way that his agent or he himself won't do, trying to make a little bit of that statement. But the thing is now he's brought it to life. Now it's a living, breathing thing that we're all talking about. And I disagree a little bit with what Charlie said, in the sense of, like, I think there has been times Pulisic gets injured a lot. He does have a lot of performances where when he is a starter consistently, he has performances where he's pretty indifferent in his performances. And then when he's got the chip on his shoulder, he tends to fight back and bounce back. Same with the national team, right? Where we saw him in the national team. There's a lot of games where you're like, then you see the games where you're like, this guy's unbelievable, world class. And we kind of forget some of that inconsistency. At least that's how I feel. But I do think I agree with Charlie on the fact that when he is asked to prove himself and say, hey, fight for your place back, he generally does that and does well and proves himself in that way. But I think as a consistent starter, I think Chelsea has struggled with this for 18 months to 2 years of just finding that consistency, because they went out and got everybody who's the same age other than Lukaku in their front 6 or 7. And so, yeah, it's a little bit I don't know why his dad did that. I like at a certain point he's got to probably just take a step back, from the helicoptering, because he is Christian Pulisic now. He's our best American player. He's a Champions League winner at Chelsea, and he's a massive star. Love Mark Pulisic, but just seemed odd.
Also, we should mention that he deleted the tweet, so it no longer exists if you're going to look for it right now. But the internet,
do you think
the internet
that was
never
him?
forgets.
Do you think that was Christian being like?
Well, it's serious.
Like,
if someone deletes a tweet, that it's serious. That they got something coming at them, and they said, "Oh, not a good."
It's probably
idea.
Remember when Christian wore a hat and U.S. Soccer posted it on Instagram, and he's like, "Why do you guys ask me if you can post that?" It's probably the same thing as like, "Dad, what are you doing? Like, can you just don't make this worse for me or any harder than it needs to be?" And I find it interesting, Chelsea's situation overall, because the consortium that's being the preferred bidder in all this is an American owner, and I doubt that he's going to want to let Christian Pulisic go, because it's not from an American owner who just sees it from a business standpoint. He's an incredible asset to have one of the biggest names in American soccer on his team. It's not just going to let him go. So I actually don't know if he's going to leave, and I'm very curious to see how Thomas Tuchel, if he remains as coach, continues to stick with him, and how that all plays out. A lot of questions there, but we're not the only ones discussing this. We also had the opportunity to hear from Fabrizio Romano when he was on the Que Golazo podcast with our very own Luis Miguel Echegaray. Let's see what Fab had to say.
Was mentioned Romelu Lukaku, but they need to clarify with Pulisic what they want to do together with Thomas Tuchel at the end of the season. They had some approaches from Spanish clubs in January, but for Chelsea was not even a topic. They wanted to keep him, and Tuchel wanted to keep him. So he told to the board, "I want this player to stay, and I need this player." But then these players, Pulisic, Lukaku, and many others, they're not happy with the current situation. So it's really important, I think, for Chelsea to clarify what they want to do with them, with contracts, because even for Pulisic, what do you want to do? You trust this player. You want to offer him a new deal or not? So there are many points, and they want to play. And so it's a complicated situation too. I'm sure that they will have a conversation with Thomas Tuchel, with a new board in the summer, and they will need to clarify what they want to do, because maybe it could be an opportunity for him to leave Chelsea in case Thomas Tuchel will accept him to go. So Tuchel with Romelu Lukaku and Pulisic will need to clarify the situation as soon as possible. I think it will be end of May.
Interesting insight there from our very own Fabrizio Romano. Charlie, you hear from Fab there. Seems like he's just as, or kind of saying some of the same things, just a little frustrated. They got to get some clarification. Part of me thinks that Thomas Tuchel just sees him as a super sub, like that. That's what he thinks his best role is, a spot starter at best. If Tuchel stays, and then the ownership group, if Tuchel stays, I can understand why Pulisic wants to leave. But if the ownership group comes in and they're like, "We're not selling our best American asset, who's a marketing machine for us over here," now you've got an issue, because now you're going to have an unhappy Christian Pulisic. And I think from a sporting perspective, that's the last thing we want heading into the World Cup.
Both final groups, by the way, Charlie, are American. I think they entered into talks with the Dodgers, but I think it was like Blitzer Harris and
Paluca from Boston. Let's go.
Yeah.
I think for me, and it was also telling that it was Spanish clubs that came in for Christian. That's the best league for Christian. If you're leaving Chelsea, Villarreal, Atletico Madrid, those are the two clubs that you want to see him go to. I think in terms of that, you're going, okay, if that's not on the table, where in the Premier League would you want him to go? Is a Tottenham a place that you could see him? Wolves, I think, would be two below, Christian right now. So it'd have to be a club that's competing in Europe, because you don't go from Chelsea and say, "Yeah, I'd love to go play for Everton or for Leeds." You have to stay at that level, because once you touch that level, you never want to leave it. So I think for Christian, it's you reassess at the end of the season, because maybe Thomas isn't there. Thomas Tuchel, maybe he
might not be there.
Leaves. You never know. So I think from that standpoint, you wait till you see how the season ends, because maybe it ends on a high note. Otherwise, you say, I need to go to a place where I'm going to feel happy, and right now I'm not happy.
All right, everybody listening and or watching, let us know, where do you think Christian Pulisic should play, if not at Chelsea, for the next season? Hit us up at ISWT Pod on the Twitters. You can do it in the comments right now, or whenever you hear this, if you're listening to it on podcast. And while you're there, why don't you hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, hit like and subscribe if you're watching on the YouTubes. We really appreciate all of your support as we build this tremendous community especially as we head into a very important World Cup for the U.S. men's national team. Heath, we've already had plenty of discussions where we think Christian should go, but it's one of those things where you play for a top club, even your best players are spot starters at times. And that might be a reality that he has to accept, because that's what's happening at Chelsea. And maybe he's not getting the minutes that he needs, but if he drops down, maybe just that one tier. Let's say he went from Chelsea to West Ham, and all of a sudden he's on the opposite side of Jared Bowen, right? And they got Mikel Antonio up top, and now Declan Rice and Suchek are in midfield. And sure, he might have to replace Benrahma or whatever, but we think he could do that. Would he accept that? I mean, it took Kurt Zuma a long time to leave Chelsea to go to West Ham, to kind of see it the same way, where hey, buddy, you're going to be a spot starter, but if you come to West Ham, you'll probably start all the time.
Yeah, I mean, West Ham's an interesting one because
I just throw that as an example, by the way.
It is an example. It's a great example. I feel like he tends to play better with quality players around him. I think
so would I.
You can agree. I mean for sure. But he tends to try to put a lot more on his shoulders when he comes to the national team and feels like he's got to be the guy. But when he's got good quality around him, I think that's why I like.
Wait, Chuck, did you hear that right? Is he saying the U.S. men's national team doesn't have quality? Does Heath Pierce hate the U.S. men's national team right now?
Yeah, he does.
Hey, boo, you guys!
Stop hating the U.S. men's national team.
I'm gonna delete this tweet.
Delete your tweet.
Yeah, I mean,
I get what
think
you're saying,
he feels that responsibility. Whereas I think maybe at West Ham again would feel like he's got to be a double-digit goal and assists for both a year, where maybe he could be anyway. If he was a role player. By the way, at Chelsea, I don't think that he's a sub at Chelsea. I think that Tuchel just knows he's got the luxury of having a number of players that he can have run 6 to 8 games straight, and then maybe you're out for 6 to 8 games, and 6 to 8 games straight, maybe you're out. And I think that in itself maybe makes everybody in the rotation of things, as opposed to the fact that we're talking about it towards the end of the season and he's not starting, middle of the year when he was starting, or if that middle of the year was at the end of the year, I would still see it as the same, where I think Thomas Tuchel sees the value in him for long stretches and then rotates him, and then he finds himself buried for a while, which is not ideal. But I like Charlie Shout for a Spurs, or some of these Spanish clubs could be good too. It's just, I think we all see him needing to be at a certain level, but still around like that Champions League tier and quality player where he's creating around other borderline world-class players.